You have to have that.
Now let me pick up on some questions about the veracity and authority of what the BBC says. And let me first of all say, everyone makes mistakes. Anyone who tells you don't mistake are the most frightening people of all. Does the BBC put out wrong information? Yes, it does. And we can give you, I think, two very obvious examples. One is the investigation into the behaviour of the BBC around their dealings with Princess Diana, culminating in her death, was shocking. The reporter, Martin Bashir, there was an investigation after years and years and years of the BBC standing by their Diana interview. It's the interview, remember, where she said there were three of us in this marriage, which was a bit crowded. Obviously the other person was Camilla. The BBC made that programme 25 years ago. The BBC, everyone gave it enormous praise and credit. It was a TV event, and the BBC lived off it for a long time. But about 6 months ago, there was an investigation into exactly how the BBC got this interview, out of which there were then absolutely devastating findings. It was found in the inquiry that, by the way, Earl Spencer deserves great credit for pushing. It was found that the BBC had forged documents in order to persuade Diana, who was already in a very fragile state, that all her phones were being bugged, that the security services were trying to kill her, and so on. Completely turned her mind. Now, to say that they used forged documents would be bad enough, but they themselves created the forged documents, and they knew it. Throughout the 25 years since Diana's death, they have repeatedly said that it was a very fine piece of work, and it was, it was a mastery of journalism and so on. That all collapsed 6 months ago, when it turned out that the BBC had commissioned from a graphics artist deliberately falsified bank statements and the like in order to persuade Diana that she was in great danger and that she should give this interview attacking Camilla and Charles in order to protect herself, because once it was out in the public domain, they would have lost in their attempt to get rid of her, and she'd be safer. Now it turns out, when I say that the BBC forged it, which is I think the most shocking part of it, how it came about that it was found out was Bashir is the one who commissioned. He was a reporter on Panorama. He was commissioned by the BBC, by Bashir, who was employed by the BBC, to falsify documents relating to Diana's personal affairs, her finances and so on, in order to persuade her that she was in real risk, in danger of her life, and that she ought to go public sooner rather than later before they knocked her off. For 25 years the BBC denied this, but the BBC knew that Bashir had mocked up forged documents. He was a graphics artist for the BBC. Anyway, he mocked up these documents. He didn't know what they were for. He was just a graphics artist. In fact, they were the forged documents that were presented to Diana and I think Earl Spencer in order to persuade them that there was something very seriously wrong and they needed protection. it is only as a result of an inquiry 25 years later that the BBC have apologised. The BBC have admitted that it was a major miscarriage of justice and forgery.